Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from Group 2 from Classroom Management A2. Our topic is about not about consistency until in the student voices. My name is Farah Anissa. As a first presenter, the topic that I present are a note about consistency and responding to minor behavior. First, a note about consistency. The first one in a note about consistency is consistency does not mean treating all misbehavior in the same way. Actually, teachers are told to be consistent in their classroom management plan, but consistent here means that treating every misbehavior with different way based on the misbehavior itself. And next is classifying misbehavior as minor or more serious. That is an important first step in planning a discipline program, but it must to be flexible when classifying misbehavior. They consistently respond to misbehavior as minor or more serious. And the next is try to be consistent with how teacher deal with both with minor misbehavior and more serious misbehavior, because that is a good guidelines for not about consistency. Alright, the second one is about responding to minor misbehavior. In responding to minor misbehavior, I found that most behavior problems that arise the classroom are minor and can be dealt with quickly and efficiently using a non-verbal or verbal intervention. And non-verbal interventions are less disruptive to the flow of your lesson than the verbal interventions. If non-verbal interventions are not effective, you can move to verbal interventions. If using verbal interventions, it is best to try to disrupt the lesson as little as possible. Alright, next is some example of how to dealing with minor misbehavior using non-verbal and verbal interventions in ways that are consistent. First one is proximity. The teacher always be near students who tend to misbehavior, because most students will not misbehavior if there are teacher nearby. And the second one is the look. The teacher shows a stern face towards students in order to show disapproval to misbehavior students. And next is hand signal. The teacher uses hand signal or gesture to reprimand misbehavior students. And next is confiscating forbidden items. When a teacher sees students using forbidden items like checking cell phones and passing notes, he or she quietly takes the items, quietly directing the student to meet to discuss this after class. Okay, next is facial expression. A teacher uses a large repertoire of facial expression to communicate dissatisfaction to misbehaving students. Alright, next is calling on the students. If the teacher suspects that a student is behaving appropriately, he or she calls on the student or uses the student's name in a lesson. This is subtly communicates to the students that the teacher is aware of his mistake. And next is praising good behavior by other students. This is a technique that works primarily with misbehaving. The teacher praises other students for being well behaved. Alright, next is a private reminder. The teacher privately reminds a student of a rule of privately reprimands the students. And next is a reminder in a soft voice. The teacher warns student in a soft voice rather than a loud voice. Okay, next is public rule reminder. Teacher directly reminds students that they are breaking one of the classroom rules. And the last but not least, warning of consequences. The teacher warns students of consequences of continuing to misbehave. Alright, that's all from me. The next topic will be delivered by my friend.
Hello, I am Adinda Warohmah. Now I will continue my friend presentation. And the first topic is A-message. An A-message is a communication technique that encourages students to take ownership for a problem they are experiencing and to verbally express the problem with the hope of resolving the problem. Okay, this is an effective iMessage has three parts. The first part of an iMessage must enable the student to find out what is creating the problem for the individual. This part must be non-judgmental description of what is unacceptable. And the second part of an effective iMessage pins down the tangible of concrete effect that the specific behavior described in the first part has on the individual. For example, when a student comes to school lazily, it shows that they will not be serious in the lesson. And the last part of an effective iMessage states the feeling generated within the individual as a result of the tangible effect. For example, such as teacher worry about students who have misbehaved or when students do not pay attention in the class when the teacher explains the material and a teacher feels worry about the development of their student. Okay, this is a second topic, responding to more serious misbehavior. Some of the behavior that arise in the class will fall into more serious bad behavior category and will require more than nonverbal or verbal intervention. This is three consequences according Denton and Critti. And the first is related. Consequence should be directly related to the student misbehavior. Having a student stay after school to write a summary of the material. And the second is respectful. This is a being respectful entails giving student input into possible consequences and including some choice about the specifics of the consequences. For example, when teacher in the class asks the student to write down one consequence if something goes wrong in the class, and the teacher and student choose three consequences that have been provided, and the last is reasonable. These consequences help students to correct their mistake and know what to do the next time and not to make them feel bad. For example, by giving reasonable consequences to mistake they have made, or if it is the student do not pay attention in the class and the teacher asks the student to make a summary about the material today, and that's all responding to more serious misbehavior. Okay, the next topic is hierarchy of consequences. Some teachers are very comfortable relying on the concept of logical consequences to deal with more serious behavior. The purpose of the consequences hierarchy is to enable the teacher to strike a balance between being consistent but flexible enough to consider certain situation and the student. And this is an example of a hierarchy of consequences that is appropriate for elementary age. There are the first is warning if possible. For example, by giving verbal warnings to student directly when student make a mistake. And the second is 10-minute timeout. Of course, this strategy to discipline the student. One of which is the timeout method. The purpose of timeout to train students to learn to calm down while releasing their anger and frustration. And the next is conference and logical consequences. The next is note or phone call home. For example, by giving notes to parents, to parents of the student or calling parents of the student. And the last is send student to the principal. And this is a example of hierarchy of consequences that is appropriate for a senior or high school student. They are warning it's possible, same with the elementary age, and second, stay 1 minute after classroom. For example, the teacher talks face to face to the student, and the next is conference and logical consequences. Note or phone call home, send student to the principal. And in sum, integrating the concept of logical consequences in some manner into your overall classroom management plan is a very effective way to deal with more serious misbehavior. And that's explanation from me, and the presentation will be continued with my friend.
Hi, I am Desi Karmilasari, and in here I will continue my plan presentation. Okay, the first topic is addressing chronic misbehavior. If it is verbal and non-verbal interpretation didn't work to the students, we can use the behavior modification to deal with the chronic misbehavior. There are three common elements that in the behavior modification. First step in behavior modification is the create contract. Try to create contract with the student first. So during the conference, you will talk with the students and spend a lot of time to discussion, talk about the misbehavior in the class. So the student will know what is to truly happen in the class, because sometimes they all didn't realize they do something wrong in the class. So, but this is really important to remember as the teacher during the conversation and communicate with the student to show how much we are care with the student and make sure that we want to really help him. And by the end of the conference, don't forget to be clear on the plan with the students. So you have to make sure that the student know what they have to do in the class. Okay, the second step is the develop a tracking system. After you have already talked with your students and discussing with your student, it's a good idea for you track and progress the student in the class. And then the second step or the last step in behavior modification is positive reinforcement, because your student has already done with the plan in the first conference and then the student achieved the progress with the good progress. This is a good idea for give a positive reinforcement. Positive reinforcement is not just about you give and present to the students, but like the words that you are done, you're amazing. That is one of the example of positive reinforcement. Don't forget to get involved the students to choose what kinds of reward that they want, so they more motivated to give the best act in their classroom. So this is my second topic in the student voices. We have already done and we have already know how to respond misbehave from the students, but in this time we will hear or we will see point of view from the student why they are misbehave. There are two questions. The first is why do you think the student misbehave, and then what kinds of the consequences for misbehave. The first is why they are misbehave is they are getting bored. Maybe during the lesson they are getting bored and they are misbehave. And then the second is they want to entertain themselves. They are getting bored and they try to do something that actually this is related with the lesson. For example, they are read something that actually doesn't have relation with the lesson, or chit chat with their friends. And the fourth is they feel like they are not getting respect from the teacher. This is one of the way trying to get attention from the teacher or from their friends. So that is the reason why the student misbehave. And then the second question is what do you think are consequences for misbehave. Mostly they say is take a privilege from the students, and also they say that have a conference or have the conference with the student first, so at the time they will talk together and looking for the way how to solve the problem together. So this is the end of the video. We hope you can understand what we try to explain to you. Sorry for many mistakes that we have done. Thank you for watching, and then wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.